say to Americans who want safe streets but are concerned due process is being violated?
The president is using every lever of his executive authority and his constitutional authority within the bounds of the immigration laws of our country to ensure that our streets are safer for law-abiding American citizens. And this administration is focused on detaining, arresting, and deporting illegal criminal aliens. And as you saw this past weekend, the president used his authority under the Alien Enemies Act to deport foreign terrorists. Tren de Aragua is now a designated foreign terrorist organization. And as I said, there were nearly 200 Tren de Aragua members who were sent to El Salvador this weekend. Countless lives will be saved because of this action. And if you talk to the families, the Angel families, as I mentioned, Blake and Riley and Jocelyn Nungray, they understand the grave cost of life at the hands of these illegal terrorists. And the president is proud to deliver on that promise for them.
And just to follow up on that, this will be challenged later today in the courts. Does the president, does this allow him to defy the court order without having this the checks and balances and the separation of power?
No. In fact, this administration acted within the confines of the law, again, within the president's constitutional authority and under the authority granted to him under the Alien Enemies Act. We are quite confident in that, and we are wholly confident that we are going to win this case in court.
Because a federal judge sent a ruling that, hey, whoa, you cannot send those guys out of the country like this with this old Aliens Act back from the late 1700s. Now, why is that happening? We can all make some different assumptions why they didn't want these people to be sent out of the country, but also there's some arguments about the due process that went on, and we're going to see how Karoline addresses that. It's SeanDaniel here. If you enjoy the video, and if you enjoy watching these vultures in this room get exposed and handled, consider subscribing for more videos like these, or just hitting the like button. That helps me out a lot. Let's get going.
If you guys can't send 200 Tren de Aragua terrorists at a time to El Salvador, where are you going to send them instead?
It's a very good question. You'd have to ask the courts and the people on the left who are trying to fight this administration for doing the business that this president sought out to do, which is to deport these foreign terrorists. And we're very grateful to President Bukele and to El Salvador for accepting these heinous monsters where they will face justice.
And if these guys are terrorists at war with the United States, is President Trump considering anything more lethal to address them than just sticking them on a plane somewhere else?
Well, it sounded like you had a little bit of curiosity in the premise of your question, so I want to address it. These are designated foreign terrorists. The president signed a proclamation on February 20th, 2025, designating TDA as a foreign terrorist organization that was in consultation with the Attorney General and the Secretary of Treasury. That was pursuant to 8 U.S. Code 1189. The president has the right to do that. And I think nobody would argue that Tren de Aragua should be designated a foreign terrorist organization. If you want to have that argument, I'm happy to do it. These are heinous monsters, rapists, murderers, kidnappers, sexual assaulters, predators who have no right to be in this country, and they must be held accountable.
Now, some people are going to argue, well, how do you know that they're really Tren de Aragua members? Is it just because of a tattoo on their arm? Is it because you guys caught them in the act of doing something? Is it because you saw them at a hangout with these gang members? What's the reason with which this administration is deeming them gang members? And that's what the left is going to start arguing. It's actually a good question to a degree because you don't want to mess up innocent people. But at the same time, why are you hanging out with gang members that are coming in to take over parts of the country? You should face some repercussions for that, no?
Something different. There is now a member of the European Parliament from France who does not think the U.S. represents the values of the Statue of Liberty anymore. They want the Statue of Liberty back. So is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France?
Absolutely not. And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. So they should be very grateful to our great country. Kelly.
Is the administration prepared to give the court what it wants in terms of the time of the flights that departed, that went to El Salvador, and some of those details that the judge is asking for in trying to determine the timing? Clearly, the 5 named individuals were not deported
That's right.
Compliance. but looking more broadly, wanting to know about the timing of flights and so forth. Because the verbal order did say, turn around the flights if there's an issue. So is the administration prepared to provide that information?
I'm prepared to provide it right now. All of the planes that were subject to the written order, the judge's written order, took off before the order was entered in the courtroom on Saturday. And the administration will, of course, be happily answering all of those questions that the judge poses in court later today.
And for people who have due process questions about making certain that there wasn't anyone who was swept up who did not meet the criteria that you laid out, is there a way for the administration to provide more detail about how that was determined, who the individuals were that met this deportation order?
Yes, I can assure the American people that Customs and Border Patrol and ICE and the Department of Homeland Security are sure about the identities of the individuals who were on these planes and the threat that they pose to our homeland. They take this incredibly seriously. They are putting their lives on the line to deport these designated terrorists from our country, and they should be trusted to do that. And that's exactly what the American people elected this president to do.
These people in this audience and these writers, which I'm going to show you a quote from in just a second, they act like the Customs and Border Patrol, the Trump administration, they don't have reasons behind why they're sending these people out of here. They haven't done bad things. They haven't gone through identifying exactly who is who. No. There's just martial law, and because they're Venezuelan, you're sending them out, and they need all this big due process thing. There is due process questions, but they act like Trump didn't have a process to figure out who the heck to even deport. That's not a small decision. And then in the BBC article, you have people saying stuff like this. The only reason to invoke such a power, which Trump did to send these people out, is to try to enable sweeping detentions and deportations of Venezuelans based on their ancestry, not on any gang activity that could be proved in immigration proceedings. No. Just because you are Venezuelan, Trump wants you out of the country. No, we want them out of the country. Why? Because probably they broke the law in coming here. They're also committing big crimes in the U.S. And they've been wasting taxpayer money by us giving them benefits by them coming here illegally. And I hate when the government wastes money, and I hate when I waste money, which is why I use credit cards to spend money I'm already going to spend to get $600 and $1,000 back on money I'm already going to spend. I'll have some links to different credit cards if you guys want to save some money and actually earn money back on money you're already going to spend. I'll have links down below. It's a way to give me a little bit of a bonus back for something I already use, and I recommend you guys use as well, to get a couple hundreds or even $1,000 back for money you're already going to spend. So you don't waste the money that you're already going to spend, like how the government's been wasting money on illegals.
Just to follow up on that, then, so you're saying definitively that the administration can prove everyone that was put on those flights to El Salvador was either a member of Tren de Aragua, MS-13, or some other entity?
We've already provided the breakdown in the effort of transparency about the 261 illegal aliens who were deported. 137 of those were deported under the Alien Enemies Act. 101 of those were Venezuelans removed via Title VIII, which, as you know, are just regular immigration proceedings. And 23 of them were MS-13 Salvadorian gang members. There were also 2 MS-13 ringleaders as part of that group of 23 who President Bukele particularly expressed his gratitude for their return so he can demand justice in his home country. Jennifer.
What criteria, though, other than, say, tattoos or maybe being in the wrong place at the wrong time, are they using to determine that someone is actually a member of one of these organizations?
Intelligence and the men and women on the ground in the interior of our country who are finally being allowed to do their jobs. Their hands were tied under the previous administration, and as I said, they take their jobs very seriously. They should be trusted and respected by the American public with this operation. And of course, as I said to Kelly, the administration will provide all details to the questions that the court poses.
It's good to question what's going on in the government, but it's really disrespectful to all of these government workers, especially those in the immigration area and law enforcement, to just act like, oh, they don't really care about their jobs. They don't really care about their justice, the justice being imposed. They're just randomly picking people because they want them out of here to make their bosses happy. Yes, we don't know if that really goes on at different parts of the world, but it's just disrespectful to all these workers to come with the assumption that something shady is going on with law enforcement. Now, we also have seen many situations where it's like, yo, what is going on in the government? It's good to question it. But I would love to know really how serious, and I can imagine how serious police officers, one, law enforcement agents, and Border Patrol people really take their jobs. And yet the media just tries to spin it like, well, did they really know if they were gang members? Did they just look at a tattoo?
Can you say how much the U.S. is paying El Salvador to imprison these Venezuelans?
It was approximately $6 million to El Salvador for the detention of these foreign terrorists. And I would point out that is pennies on the dollar in comparison to the cost of life and the cost it would impose on the American taxpayer to house these terrorists in maximum security prisons here in the United States of America. And I would echo the message of our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who expressed his gratitude to President Bukele and El Salvador's government for their cooperation in this deal.
And if you ask most Americans like me, probably like you, we're like, bro, spend my taxpayer money to get dangerous people out of here. But if you watch CNN, they'll be like, oh my God, your prices might go up with all the money you're going to spend on deportations. Especially how she broke it down, comparing the cost of jail, the cost of paying for more law enforcement agents to go out and go find more of these people in case we let them out like the previous administration had been doing, the cost of housing them even if we let them out and give them free benefits like the previous administration did. They don't want to raise questions about all the money that was spent with that. But oh my God, you guys spent $6 million to send these people to a maximum security prison. That's going to save so many lives and probably money down the line, because also it sends a strong message to other gang members and other illegals. Don't come here. You don't want to get caught up in this and get sent to a maximum security prison in El Salvador where they do not play games. So that's going to save the U.S. money by not having to go fine and prosecute and do all these things against future gang members that might come and do something. Just saves money, and it's just smart. It's SeanDaniel here. If you want to watch another one, you can check out one of these videos right here, and I will see you in the next one. And there they go.